Yesterday, Bitcoin was going to be accepted by Amazon. Today, Bitcoin is not going to be accepted by Amazon. Does it really matter? What is up, everyone? Welcome to Crypto Capital Venture. Hit the subscribe and like on the way in. If you're in the live stream, hit the like button for me. Get those YouTube algorithms loving the Crypto Capital Venture channel. Does it really matter, everybody? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Would it be cool in the long term? Yes. Is it probably going to happen? Yes. I mean, here's the news. Obviously, everybody was getting hype yesterday saying Bitcoin's bouncing because of this news. Amazon has come out and flatly denied a British newspaper's report that they were planning on accepting Bitcoin. And here's the article. Notwithstanding our interest in the space, the speculation that has ensued around our specific plans for cryptocurrencies is not true. We remain focused on exploring what this could look like for customers shopping on Amazon. They're looking into crypto, everybody. And at the end of the day, and I just tweeted this, Bitcoin doesn't need Amazon. There were Walmart rumors recently, but Bitcoin doesn't need Walmart. It doesn't need Tether, all the Tether FUD right now. It doesn't need Elon. It doesn't need, SpaceX, Tesla. It doesn't need it. It just doesn't. And this is Bitcoin on the charts. There are catalysts, right? These news events, they can be catalysts for a move on Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, the technicals are the technicals, and they have been more consistent and more reliable, at least to me, as I watch these charts and as I watch Bitcoin price and as I invest in cryptos. The charts reel it all in. The charts paint the picture. The charts give us guidance. And this is where we are. All this other news, it's always a blip on the radar, but we're always tracking the charts every day. And they're hitting data points. They're repeating data points. They're just offering us a lot of reliability. So let's step away from that news for a second and talk about what's going on the charts, because that's what matters. And here's the weekly. So first things first, we're in a really cool spot because we are right around this 45 line on the RSI. Now, entering that last bear market, because there's a lot of you out there that think we're entering that bear market right now. Entering that last bear market in 2017 to 18, Bitcoin grappling with the same exact area and actually, popping above it a couple of times, namely off of this 50-week moving average right here. You see the RSI bouncing off of that area. And check this out. Most recently, Bitcoin 50-week moving average bouncing off this RSI area up and above. There is a bull versus bear war going on right now. We have to focus on it because it's going to give us a lot of answers to really get an idea of where we are in the market cycles. I think we're in the middle of the bull market still. I think there's going to be continued uptrend. That's just my opinion. So let's dive in. Let's talk about what's going on in the short term and what Bitcoin price looks like. If you're in the live stream right now, hit that like button for me. I appreciate it. And here we are on the daily chart. So very simply, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if Amazon news or whatever happened is what spurred the drive of Bitcoin price. It doesn't matter. What matters is technically we had a descending triangle that we've been talking about for a while now on this channel, and we got a breakout of the upper trend line 67% into the apex, towards the apex of the descending triangle. Why that's important? Because again, the technicals are reliable. The technicals are consistent. We know that we get these breakouts 61 to 65% of the way to the triangle apex. It's right here on the patternsite.com. This is data we use over and over again on this YouTube channel, no matter what the news is. And it's data that continues to become reliable and provide itself as being reliable for us. So 61 to 65%, we're at 67%. We got the breakout. That's good. Now, what I want to pay attention to is the next step of this, right? Just because we get the breakout doesn't mean we're boom. It's off to the races and it's just nonstop green. It doesn't mean that at all. In fact, if we look at more of the data based off of what we see here, we see that we get a throwback. And I want to continue talking about this 60% of the time based on this data. And what that looks like, a throwback is basically we're getting a run out of the triangle and we're getting thrown back to the apex. Now, we see this happen so often in just all different patterns, these throwbacks. And to the downside, we see the same thing, pullbacks, right? They happen so much where bulls are being tested, bears are being tested, support's being tested, resistance is being tested. In this case, we'd see support being tested if we get a pullback. So there's very important things happening on this chart right now I want to point out to you. And this is why I wanted to do this quick live stream. This isn't going to be a crazy long live stream. I want to do some technicals, then I got to head out. I've got a busy evening. So check this out. This is where we are. We get the breakout, technically sound breakout, 67% of the way to the apex of this descending triangle. And then we hit resistance. And it doesn't matter, again, if it was the bad news in terms of Amazon not going to be accepting Bitcoin, right? They're denying that. Maybe that's why this ugly wick is here. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Bitcoin was already seeing resistance at this resistance area. This was the midterm resistance, the swing high in June 15th to that swing low we had, and Bitcoin made its way through the breakout to resistance. There was exact resistance on this daily candle right at the 786 line, around $38,600 or so. And that's where we are right now. We're seeing resistance. We want to track it now on the short term. So what we want to see, if we go over and we pivot to the 6-hour chart, is this. And this is what it looks like on the 6-hour. On the 6-hour chart, we want to see, and we talk about it all the time, when we hit a resistance area, and let me get rid of that Fibonacci. Here it is charted in the rectangle. This is the Fibonacci resistance. When we hit an area of resistance, especially the 786, we oftentimes, and I just talked about it yesterday's video in context to Cardano, it's 100% normal just to see sideways for a while as it tests it, right? And it lets the markets see what is going to happen next. And it's the fight of the bulls versus the bears on the short term right now at this resistance area. Very normal. We want to see continuation from this area. But if that doesn't happen, right, and if we don't get this continued just upside momentum to the upside, it doesn't mean that the bulls are just, they're done. They're calling it a day. This was an entire fake out. It could play out that way. But don't forget the descending triangle throwback rate of 60%. It happens a lot, right? So what that would look like, perfect resistance at our Fibonacci resistance that we have here, throwback to the apex of the triangle. Now, we can say, yes, upper trend line we want to see for support. If it happens, it's that $32,000, $33,000 area. You know, I was on Around the Blockchain with BitBoy earlier, and I mentioned this real briefly. Don't be surprised if we get a move back to this area, and this could happen in a bullish environment, meaning this could be a higher low area. Now, confluent with that, I want to chart this, is the swing low that we just recently had 6 days ago, July 20th, to now the swing high resistance. Now, confluent with that upper trend line, you can see the Fibonacci support. That support area, 33,600 at the 618 to the 786 around 31,600. That's the support area. So, and this isn't perfect. This isn't me even throwing out a prediction. This is just what we've been tracking for years. Moves like this with these triangles. These throwbacks are so commonplace for Bitcoin. So I'm just throwing this out there. Number one, so you can anticipate it. If you know, get your things in order. Make sure you're ready for a scenario like this. But number two, if it happens, don't automatically freak out, right? And that's why I do technical analysis. So me personally, I have structure to like what's going on with Bitcoin price. Because if we don't have structure, or at least for me, if I don't have a story that's being told all through all of this mess, and look at this mess, talk about emotional roller coaster. If I don't have structure and like something to track, I'll go crazy. Like I probably will just not look at the charts because it'll just blow my mind. I'll be very confused. Like, what is going on? But now we have structure. We have historical data. We have all of these data points of Bitcoin for years and years and years. And it shows us how Bitcoin moves. And it's very, very, I don't want to say predictable, but it allows us to anticipate scenarios and not be surprised by it. So namely, this could be a scenario, a throwback to the triangle. It happens 60% of the time based on the data that we use, and it's in play. Ultimately, if you're a bull out there, and you know I'm a bull, obviously, the best thing that we can see is continuation, right? The best thing we can see is let's allow Bitcoin to consolidate sideways as it often does at the Fibonacci resistance, which is where it is right now. Let's allow it to consolidate, but then from there, let's get that continuation to the upside. It just doesn't always happen like that. So I really just want to throw that out there. So give it time, everybody. This is what we're tracking. Again, I show this if you weren't at the beginning of the live stream. Bitcoin doesn't need Amazon. It doesn't need Walmart. It doesn't need Tether. It doesn't need Elon Musk. It doesn't need any of these things. Yes, those things can be worked into the charts one way or the other, but the technicals and what happens on the charts, they're way more important. And the most important foundational thing to what is happening on the charts, I say this, I should have started with this in the video, is the fact that right now on Bitcoin, when we go to a weekly, there's something happening and it's called a supply shock. And that's what's happening. And these little news events, right? I mean, we just had Tether FUD in February with Bitfinex. We just had Binance FUD in May. All these probes that are happening, and that's what they like to throw in the headline. There's probing into Tether. Maybe something bad does happen with it. At the end of the day, we don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. You want to be prepared for that. It will probably tank Bitcoin for a time, but you know what? At the end of the day, there's a bigger, larger story, and all of these news stories will eventually be just little blips on the radar. But the big story, the foundational story, which we should pay attention to, is the supply shock that is happening. And it has a lot to do with these white lines on the screen, these halvings of Bitcoin. And we're in, right now, a supply shock scenario on the macro. Many people accumulating during this time. So be careful out there. Obviously, prepare for all scenarios. Here's the chart on the 6 hour. This is the descending triangle. We got the breakout 67% of the way. We hit perfect resistance. Let's see what Bitcoin does now. Let's track it. Potential in play. Throwback to the triangle. Also, a higher low Fibonacci area in that $33,000, $32,000 range. So, everybody, thanks for cruising by for this live stream. Time for me to head out. If you're here, not a subscriber, make sure to hit that subscribe, hit that like button. It really means a lot to me right now. If you're out there, have an awesome night. God bless.